Hello and welcome to another episode of AgapeDads. I'm Julian Cortez. Today we have the great pleasure of hearing from the experience of Angel Marrero. He's a good friend of mine from high school. He's a father of two. Welcome to the program.
Hey, what's going on?
Good. Angel, if you could start us off by telling us what your childhood was like growing up.
Yes. My childhood, I was a very hyper kid, so I always found something to get into. I always liked to climb on stuff, run around like most kids. However, I was a very good kid, but I was put in a public school, and public schools, especially growing up in the Bronx, are kind of rough. So I was picked on. I was picked on. Um, in elementary school and middle school. It was pretty tough, but aside from that, like as a kid at home, it was amazing. Like my parents were always very nurturing, and home was home. Like you walk in through those doors, even if we live on a bad side of the neighborhood, it's just home.
Yeah.
And yeah, aside from what happened in school as a kid, I was a very happy kid.
Has your childhood impacted you as a dad?
Yes. Like my stepfather has been there since I was like 8 or 9 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost 40, so he's been there throughout my whole life. So he's the one I consider father, right? So he's been a great role model as a dad. Um but I'm always tired to be honest with you. I'm always tired as an adult. Like I wake up every single day. I need coffee. Like I'm exhausted. People say you look young. I can't believe you're gonna be 40. But trust me, the physicalness fine. But the appearance is one thing. But physically, I don't feel like I feel like an old man. But when I have a little bit of energy, or even sometimes when I see these boys in the mornings and afternoons, they give you a boost of energy, man. And sometimes you just kind of like you do things. A coworker of mine once told me, her name is Sonia, a Chinese lady. She said, sometimes you do things you don't even know your body could do once
Yeah.
you have kids. And that's the case. That's really, it's true. And sometimes I'm just taking care of my responsibilities. I'm changing this one's diaper. I'm feeding the other one. I'm making sure he doesn't fall off. And then this one's already getting irate. And then this one needs to go to sleep. And then this one woke him up. So it's crazy. It's crazy. So they kind of like keep me going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, at the same time, so when I do have energy and I'm in these silly moods, it's like the little kid inside of me. And I tell my wife all the time, I said, babe, like I have a kid inside me and I'm gonna have so much fun with these boys like throughout their life. Like I'm having fun with them now,
Right.
but like different stages when they're like 5, 6, 7. I want to build the tent. Hopefully we'll have a house by then and with a backyard. I want to build the tent and spend the night in the backyard with flashlights, and the wife can stay inside and I'm outside with them.
I think that's what made us become close friends is that you and I both have like the both same sense of humor. Has there been any challenges for you as a father, and how did you go about to handle those?
Yeah, there's been a lot of challenges. There's always challenges as a parent.
Hmm.
You pretty much have no choice. It's like there were times where I was alone with both of them. When with in the beginning, even with the baby, when like my wife, she cleans apartments. So when my baby Liam, when he was about maybe 3 months old, more or less, that I could remember, when she had to leave because she would breastfeed him, but then she would leave breast milk in the fridge for him for me
Right.
to give him.
Hmm.
And even though I went through it with Ryan, but still, it's just like, oh man, I don't know. It just kind of, I don't know. It's been a long time since I went through that because Ryan's almost 3, the baby's 8 months, so it's like a little gap in between.
Right.
But I would get a little like kind of like nervous, like, oh man, would he, be okay without the breast and just a bottle of breast milk, or if I put him to sleep with just like handling both of them at once. It's one of them is a handful. You know how having one kid is a handful. Imagine two at once. So in the beginning, she would leave me alone for a few hours, and I'd be going crazy. But at the same time, I managed, to do everything I needed to. And at the same time, it's like you really just have to do it.
Right.
Because no one's there. I can call my wife, but she's not physically there to help me. So basically, I just have to do it. That's it. No one's gonna do it. If I don't give the baby breast milk or change his diaper, whatever the case may be, they're gonna be left abandoned, right? So,
Right.
you know, and that's just one of many.
And if you could take us on a journey of what it was like when you first became a dad.
So I was the wife was pregnant, right? And when she first told me the news, I came home from work and she had a surprise for me. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, I really don't like surprises. I don't like, the whole like, okay, not knowing what to expect. And so she had like a box on top of the bed and she says, babe, close your eyes. I'm like, what are you up to? I walk into the room and she says, open it. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I open the box. I think it was like a wooden box, and I see like the little confetti and stuff. And as I put my hand inside and I keep digging towards the end, there's like a little toy, but for like a baby. And I look at her and she's tearing up, and she tells me, "Wow." And I was like, "Are we gonna have a kid?" She's like, "Yeah." Oh my
Yeah.
God. And she's recording me the whole time. It was really emotional, and I was like, "Wow, that was crazy." And to be honest, like I went like a week or two, like still in shock, but I couldn't believe it.
Mhm.
Like, wow, I'm gonna be a father.
Mhm.
So it was a good feeling. And so another thing, I've always felt like, eventually when I married her, I was like, okay, the next step after that, usually a year later or whatever, is having kids. And I was like, I want to have kids, but I'm scared. I don't know how to raise another human being. But believe it or not, when she told me that she was pregnant, like all that fear went away.
Wow.
So it was crazy. I was like, wow. Fast forward like a month later or so, I'm sleeping. I'm not a morning person. She calls me. She's like, babe, she went to a doctor. She's like, everything's fine. Blah, 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 with the doctor. I was like, okay. Oh, she calls me and she tells me, she's like, babe, so we're gonna have twins. There's two, it's not. I'm like, and I hang up the phone. I was so sleepy. I just hung up the phone. And then it hit me. I'm like, wait, she said she told me there's gonna be two? Not
Right.
one but two. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. And so, so we were gonna have twins. Then the babies were born prematurely, fast forward months later, and they were each born with a pound. The tiny one was Ryan, who was out there. It was a pound and 10 ounces. So imagine how tiny that is. It's like the size of my hand,
Yeah.
literally. And the other one was a pound and 14 ounces. And who was Thomas. So Ryan's the other one who we have to this day, and Thomas is the one who unfortunately. So let me explain for those who don't know. Unfortunately, after 3 weeks of the boys being born, I lost Thomas. He caught an infection in his gut, which is something that's common in premature babies.
Mm.
So yeah, I was able to see him for 3 weeks, and then unfortunately, God took him.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Mhm.
he blessed me with another baby who
Mhm.
we have also in the living room, Liam, who's almost 9 months and is a handful and is adorable and is full of life.
How long after the first incident happened did you know right away that you were gonna try for another? That must have been tough for you as a father.
Yeah, it was tough. I'm not gonna it was crazy because I think like the first week I cried so much, and I picked up a lot of people reached out to me via text message. They called me. I picked up some phone calls, including yours when that happened, coworkers, and I was able to pick a few phone calls and respond to text messages. But my wife, on the other hand, she didn't look at her phone for like a week. Everyone deals with it differently. I looked at her phone at one point. I was like, damn, so many missed calls. Her phone was blowing up, but she
Yeah.
disconnected herself from everybody for like a week. And it was tough in the beginning. I took, I think, 2-3 weeks off from work. I took a bereavement leave. Eventually, they gave me one at first, and I was like, man, I'm really not ready to go back to work. And man,
Yeah.
thank God the HR director had called me and said, listen, you can take an extended bereavement. It can take 2 or 3 weeks, whatever you want. And I was like, oh my God, please, can I? She's like, yeah. So it felt better after 2 or 3 weeks to go back because I was a little bit more like calm. I had cried a lot. It was these moments like I was by myself. I was just like, um, but it was tough. At times, I would talk about it with people. Some people would ask me like, how are the twins? And I'm like, I gotta explain to myself now. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't know. Some people know, but there's a lot of employees where I work, so not everyone know. And there were like maybe 1 or 2 incidents where like I couldn't help it, I couldn't control it, and I just started crying. But
Hmm.
as time went by, months later, like I said, there's little moments. Like if I go back to these pictures, I have pictures of him, even after. Like they closed us into this room for like an hour or two with him after he was let go, and Priscilla has some clothes for him. We put some clothes on him. We took pictures. I think an aunt of mine came to the hospital. My sister came to the hospital. My brother, and we were with him inside this room, just private room, just us, my wife and I, my aunt, my sister, brother, and eventually we had to give him back. But it was rough. And every time I would look at a picture, see a video of him, I could be in the train and I look at it and I throw on my glasses. I start, crying. But when I'm not looking at it or thinking about him, I'm fine. And like I said, I'm able to talk about it at times with people.
Hmm.
And as time went by, things got better. For my wife, at times it was kind of a little harder than for me. Even when it hit a year since the time he passed, she mentioned it to me. She was crying. She was telling me how like hard it was. And things just got better, with time. Um,
Hmm. It was definitely a heartbreaking moment because I know when you shared the news, or I think I saw it on Facebook or something like that. It definitely brought tears to my eyes because you're such a great guy. I've known you for so long, and for something like that to happen to someone like you just even broke my heart even more. And my heart goes out to you and Priscilla.
thank you.
Um, how would you describe yourself as a dad? What kind of dad do you say you are?
Wow. I probably say very silly and crazy. I'll be honest. But at the same, I say I'm pretty silly and crazy with my boys. Like I'm goofy, man. I'm goofy. I'm a silly person by nature, but and then now that I have them, especially my 2-year-old, I do whatever entertains them to make them happy. When I like to see, like for an example, Ryan, even the baby. I like to see a reaction. I like to get a reaction out of them. So I'll do the littlest thing sometimes. But if I know that that's little thing that I do is what makes him laugh or react that way, then I continue doing it or even step it up a few notches. Whatever. With the baby, I do these crazy faces. To hear him laugh, the
Right.
baby is just, oh my God, it's music
Right.
to my ears, man, and my heart. I love it.
Has I know that Ryan was born prematurely. Has there been any other health issues with either him or Liam that you had to deal with, and how did that make you feel as a father?
So there weren't really any health issues in the sense like they're not really sick or anything, but we found out this past summer or last summer, should I say,
Hmm.
that Ryan, we went to see a child psychiatrist, and she said that she thinks because she did a few tests on him, and she thinks that he might have a low to medium level of autism.
Okay.
Um, so that caught me by surprise. I was like, man. And then my wife asked me, how do I feel later on that day? And I was like, it bothers me because, like
Hmm.
I said before, I was picked on. The least thing I want is for those kids to be picked on.
Right.
I don't want them to go through what I went through. I want them to have a good childhood. But so we're getting all these therapy services on physical therapy, speech therapy, ABA. So they say if you help them now, if you start now, that can all get, it can all be fixed later on. So it's a lot of people though that have even a high level of autism end up being like, top of the class, end up being like great people. Like
No,
I think
absolutely, absolutely.
Steve Jobs. Is it Steve Jobs or I
Hmm.
think it's Bill Gates? And even one of the greatest soccer players in the world was like a high level of autism.
is there any advice in case there are parents who might sense something's wrong and haven't gone for testing, and even if they did go for testing and realize they're in the same predicament as you, is there any advice that you would give them of how important it is to keep up on it?
Yeah, I definitely feel that if you feel like something's wrong with their child, definitely go to a child psychiatrist, or see someone, a professional, and they want to do that. You want to catch it early. If you have any doubts, you feel like they're not progressing, then see a professional. And if they need help, then you get some professional help. You get a speech therapist, a physical therapist, all this stuff,
Right.
ABA. You don't want to wait too long.
And thank you for that. I think that's great advice because I think that parents tend to neglect because, like you said, you never want them to be the ones to have something like that or to get picked on in school because of it. Before I let you go, have there been any memorable moments? I'm sure there's tons with someone with your personality, but what might be a memorable moment that you look back on that makes you smile or laugh?
I
Yeah.
don't know, man. Like like the facial expressions they do, certain noises they make with their mouth. Actually the 8-month-old baby, when he's upset, he goes ma ma. Every He's not saying ma or mom or anything. He just says ma. And once you hear that, he's upset. Like pick him up. Maybe he wants
Right.
to be breastfed, or maybe he's sleeping. But little things like that.
I think that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us, Angel, on Agape Dads.
Of course. If I could just say one last thing, someone
Ooh,
was telling me being a parent is not an easy job, but at the same time, it's worth it. It's so worth it. And to all the parents out there, maybe they had kids young and they're a little stressed and frustrated. They never had a kid. It happens to everybody. You learn as you go. No one gives you a manual. Teachers tells you like this is how you raise a child. But you learn as you go. And if I could just tell any parent out there, just have fun with your child. Just enjoy the moments, because there's times where I'm tired and I just want to take a nap and I'm a little frustrated, but I think to myself, you know what, 10 years down the line, I'm going to wish for these little moments where they're still walking, or the baby's holding, when they're learning how to walk, crawling, all that.
right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree with that.
just
Wow,
enjoy
that's
your
wonderful.
life with the kids, and try to be the best parent that you can.
Definitely. And thank you for that. And I want to
All
just
right.
thank you for watching another episode of Agape Dads. For more information or for previous episodes, make sure to go over to the website, agapedads.com. You can go over to the YouTube channel to subscribe to that. And if you're on the go, download the podcast. Thank you and thanks for watching.